Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, today we're going to be doing a little bit of a off the random episode because basically the top thing on our list, I'm going to be honest, it is this one series called MCS. Now here's the thing about MCS. MCS 5 released a couple of days ago and we got to take a look at it. However, problem is it is the 5th season of its respect. It's the 5th one. So that means that we would have to watch 4 other seasons, 2 of which don't really count, but like either way, it's still a really long lot of episodes. Like it's a lot of episodes, right? That we would need to watch for us to be capable of properly like dealing with it, which definitely makes it a bit of an issue. So what we're gonna be doing is we will be throughout the days when it's more free, all right, we're gonna be doing what I call the road to MCS, okay? The road to MCS. So for today, it's gonna be pretty fast. We're gonna be watching Battle of Idiots 1, which is the only episode of the first season, and then the first episode of Battle of Idiots Reloaded. So that's gonna be all for today. But then in the next video, we're gonna be taking a look at all of BFBOI, and then we're gonna be looking at all of BOIBB, right? Like, and then eventually we get to MCS. So it's gonna be the road to MCS is gonna overall be like 4 videos overall. So it's not going to be the only thing to talk about. We're going to talk about some other stuff as well, which I'll decide depending on how much time we have. But the topic is, yeah, there is going to be a road to MCS that we take a look at in these days to properly get to it, all right? Because there's no way that I can do this in 1 day or maybe even 3. I don't even know if I could do this in 3 days because it'd be so much stuff, right? So for this start of the road, we're doing entirely just BOI and BOIR, and then we'll take a look at some other things that I have planned. All right, starting off here with the remastered episode of Battle of Idiots 1 Original Challenge. Let's go. Alright, so I have just watched the remaster of the only episode of Battle of Idiots, which is titled Original Challenge, because indeed we have an extremely original challenge, sarcasm. We get introduced to a couple of contestants, which is interesting. We have Ribbit Image, we have, I think a fella called JC, we have an Eggy, a fake apple, which speaks in song, never seen before, backflip. I don't know. They speak in like this type of interesting notation to their voice. But yeah, they're goofing around here on the ground. Oh yeah, we got Ben Deefy, yes, which is like leafy but bendy. Okay, so that's interesting. Then they eventually have Eggy jump off a 60-foot cliff. They have Pinky, which has misplaced eyes, glasses, which is sort of the negative I don't care type of fella that doesn't care. Then eventually we have our host appear, Fish. And Fish decides that they are going to host a competition. For some reason, we do actually know about object shows. Most of the contestants seem to actually enjoy object shows around these parts, which is interesting. I always do find it like a variation whether the contestants know an object show is an object show or they don't know an object show is an object show, right? Like it's kind of like, are they pioneers in their universe or do they already know in their universe? In this case, they do already know about object shows, so that means that stuff like BFDI exists in their timeline, which is interesting. For a little bit. Not like this show's going to do anything with that concept. I'm saying it's an interesting concept. We have a cast, which to be fair, is a pretty nice cast in terms of size. It's a cast of 7 contestants. So, it should be theoretically capable of being a season that doesn't take too long, right? That's relatively doable. Although, of course, we know that it wasn't doable. But like as far as the cast size, it was pretty smart in my opinion because it's not too big. We've got a couple of variants, we got more serious characters. There's not really that much of a strategic mind going on, but we got some happier characters, we got some sadder characters, we got those mysterious characters, right? A couple of loud ones, but also quiet ones. So I think it's a pretty solid battle. We have an IDFB intro, which is interesting. I wonder if that was how it was originally as well. It's a very nice IDFB intro. I'm not sure if like these original BFDI intros were remade because I think like surely the files of like the IDFB intro are somewhere, right? Because I've seen in quite a couple of shows and stuff that we've had been doing like BFDIA and IDFB intros, and sometimes they feel very faithfully made, which implies that like they are properly sourced from somewhere. So I do think that there's probably a way. But anyways, our challenge is balance beam. Best challenge ever made. Shout out to the writers of BFDI for challenge 1A, which is the balance beam. So they do, in fact, proceed to do a balance beam challenge. There really is not that much to it. It's they're relatively relaxed in the way that they're going. They're not really trying too much to attack. But unfortunately, here we do have Ben Deefy. Ben Deefy is the cause of 90% of the chaos in this episode. I'm gonna be absolutely for real here. So like any chaos that is caused is entirely Ben Deefy's causing. So then, to be fair, Pinky and Fake Apple do also decide to go attack. They try to attack Glasses. Glasses immediately falls. There wasn't really too much of a much to do with it. Yet again, about like 3 people get caught by Ben Deefy's wrath and Ribbit Image by just sort of surviving. By the way, Ribbit Image, Ribbit. Who is Ribbit? Is that because that looks like Darwin? From like Gumball, but it's blue like Gumball. So I don't really know. Is that a character? Hold on. I feel like it is. Ribbit Gumball. This is a person, right? Yeah, it is. Wait, who were you? Who were you? I'm trying to remember. Are you from the ripoff episode? You are from the ripoff episode, right? Yeah, the copycat. Yeah, this is one of the most iconic episodes of Gumball for sure because it's a copy of like the another show that actually exists. That is like a Chinese version copy of Gumball, and this is like an actually uses those characters with the way that they are, which I think is really really interesting to be honest. So yeah, Miracle Star. That is very interesting to be honest. So yeah, we have here an image of Ribbit from that show, and they end up winning, which means that they are not going to be up for elimination. They don't get to pick teams or anything. We just have the people being up for eliminations. Well, I mean, of course, we don't know who was going to get eliminated. I wonder who would have gotten eliminated originally. We don't really know, but eventually the screen glitches out and we have ourselves the big ol' outro, and the BOIR remake gets announced, which we do know in fact exists because it is the next thing that I'm going to be watching. So what else do I think here? I think that first of all, I'm immediately gonna say captions just make everything so much better. Genuinely, if you ain't at least for me personally, I'm a huge subtitles believer. If you don't use subtitles when watching a show, in my opinion, put them on. It's way better. And if you're a show creator, your show just feels it's so much smoother of an experience when you can read the words rather than any time that like you might not understand a character. You'll go, what? And then you don't understand what's going on. So it's like that power, just that sheer power of the subtitles is super ease of mind. I'm a big fan. So shout out to who subtitled this video. Who subtitled this video? It said who it did. Joshua the Cool. Shout out to Joshua the Cool. Joshua the Cool is the cool. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious about how connected this is to the next, because like the thing about this is that it is the next seasons of Battle for Idiots do directly have to do with like this is a canonical part, like you gotta watch this, which I always find kind of interesting because like, do you? I mean, like it's it's a bit weird because like if we did a 1 episode season, but then didn't matter, right? Then they got cancelled and we did it again. Surely by that point this wouldn't matter, but no, it does matter because even in the modern day, we're talking about season 5, which implies that this was season 1. When it's like you can retcon stuff. If this doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. But apparently it will matter, despite the fact that there's really not much going on here. But like, okay, I see it. If this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. Let's go to the first episode of Battle of Idiots Reloaded, which is the second season, which still also only had 1 episode. What is the title of the episode? The episode is titled MURDEREE. Okay. Alright, let's go watch it. Okay, I just watched BOIR 1 called Murderer. And we have ourselves a bit of an introduction to our cast. So we have a bunch of returning characters, and then we have a bunch of new characters as well. So it seems that what is going on with the show is that it's getting rebooted over and over. Fish is acting all mysterious about it. Is that, yo, why did we reboot the show? I don't know why we rebooted the show. We just had to, it was a requirement in that. So it seemed like where this season was going to head off to, right, was that we rebooted the show. And then as we rebooted the show, we would start to find out what's going on. Now some people would start analyzing, would start investigating, going like, okay, this fish guy, not all that it seems, and then things would have started changing and would have started switching up, and then we would have started having some lore happening. Now, of course, that doesn't happen because BOIR 1 is the only episode of BOIR, but that is roughly what was the equation here for the Battle Reloaded. So I understand it, I get it, but yeah, it's presumably what's going to be happening for all future seasons as well. Or at least for BOI is what I'm expecting. Same host, probably same like cast that returns, cast that doesn't return, and all of that stuff. Because it's like, okay, if the cast wasn't going to be returning eventually, right, or the host wasn't going to be returning, then again, it'd be like, wait, why would this be a season 3? Because then it could just be a season 1, be at BOI. But no, these are required. So I think that they were going to have roughly a similar vibe going on with the other seasons than we will in this season, right? Because otherwise it'd just be like, why would it matter otherwise, right? So that is my imagination. So we get introduced to our new cast. We have Bucket, that is excited but nervous fella. Ben Deefy, who comes back as you do, a very iconic character. Then we have Glasses and Fake Apple. Fake Apple keeps thinking about Pinky. Of course, every single interaction that Fake Apple has ever had in the last video was, of course, with Pink Eefy, which no, not with Pinky, with Pink Eefy, with Pinky, which means that now that they're gone, Fake Apple gonna have to, the Wild West out here, so they are thinking what's going on. In the meantime, we got another duo, Fish Tank, who is with Hanger. I mean, Fish doesn't really like Hanger, but Hanger, I guess, just kind of ends up hanging around, ayo, and having fun. SC and Ribbit Image also come back. That's fair enough. They are pretty solid, I guess. And then the new fellas, OJ, who really wants to make friends, and Lollipop, who seems to be pretty tactical, seems to be pretty tactically minded. And then there's Jeffy. Who is Jeffy? We don't talk about Jeffy. So we have ourselves an intro. It's a pretty solid intro. I enjoyed the song that played here in the intro. I mean, it's better than an IDFB clone, I guess. It's interesting how it's like their old assets get renewed to a new version, even though majority of them didn't have old assets, so they're like specifically made for the intro. So it's kind of interesting. We end up having a balance beam challenge. Technically, it's not really a balance beam. It's more of a circular platform If you know what that means, it's more of like a circular thing that you don't want to fall off. Like it's kind of different. It's more like a battle arena than it is a balance beam, right? So it's kind of like it's different. Like yes, it's similar, but it's different. It's different. Of course, the main tactic's gotta be to kind of stay around the middle. However, it ends up being kind of difficult because the thing about it is everybody just has just so much kicking power. You know, like the strength of the kicks is in this show is tremendous. Everybody is like crazy good at kicking. So like as soon as one kick and you're off the platform by a country mile. So yeah, Jeffy ends up leaving by a mile. And while some other people are relaxing, trying to be friends with OJ and Ribbit Image, unfortunately ends up being a bit complicated because Jeffy crashes into the TV and activates Plan B, which is to make everything slide down. Which, you know what? I am going to say that is a relatively good thing to have. Because, yeah, indeed, in a challenge like this, there's possibility of just being like, yo, let's play nice and not do anything evil, which would, start to become a bit more of an issue if that happened. But so it's nice to have that plan B. You know what? I'm gonna say that plan B officially makes me agree that they're a good host. They're doing a good job. They're letting it play out, but they're prepared. They are prepared for if it's not gonna go work right. So that is very, very good stuff. A couple of people get pushed off, but we end up here at our final 5, where Ben Deefy, of course, can just TP away at the last second, and Fish Tank and Hanger try to survive. However, Ben Deefy decides to use a giant rock, and then eventually that means that the first challenge winners are exactly the same. So far, as of the end of part 1 of the road to MCS, we have still only seen 2 people ever win a challenge, Ben Deefy and Ribbit Image. So fair enough. Ben Deefy seems to be playing pretty nice here too. The Ribbit Image, to be fair, seems to be acting kind of like not immediately hostile like they do to everybody else. But hey, maybe it's just tactics. I mean, it's kind of impossible to know what Ben Deefy's deal is. But yeah, they end up being around and everybody else is up for elimination. I believe Jeffy was supposed to get eliminated. At least I saw it in the recap video, which I did check the origin just to try to understand what was going on, because I saw that there was episode 1 remaster. Basically, I saw there were episode 1 remastered, but I'm wondering, okay, hold on. Does that mean that there's other episodes that weren't remastered or not on the playlist? No. Here instead it just simply means that the episodes exist. They don't exist like they did, because like for BOI, the episodes are gone because they're not recommended that you watch them. However, in BOI and BOIR, their episode 1s, they recommend that you watch them just simply because there isn't anything else, and it just takes a couple of minutes, right? So I agree. I must say I kind of enjoy the effect that happens at the end of it when people go, wait, what? And then the entire screen glitches out. We don't get to see who did the caption this time. It might be Joshua the Cool again. Whoever it is, they're pretty cool. And yeah, that is BOIR. I mean, it's pretty similar, of course, because it's animated in the same style as Battle of Idiots 1 Remastered, because it's just a remaster in the same sense. So it's impossible to really know whether the original remaster, whether like the original Battle of Idiots Reloaded looked really that much different from Battle of Idiots from the way that it's remastered, because it's really just not that different, like it's very, very equal. Like they use the same model, doing the same thing, just simply to make it look even. So for a remaster, it makes 100% sense, but we lose that piece of information. Like did Battle of Idiots Reloaded look significantly better than Battle of Idiots? I don't know. It's impossible to know from the remastered versions of it, right? Which is the only thing that maybe lose. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they looked exactly the same and the remaster is exactly the same because they looked exactly the same. It's just impossible to know. It's just you can't know. The knowledge is not there on the screen, so I'm not capable of knowing. But all right, that is gonna be the extent of my battle of the first part of Road to MCS. In the next Road to MCS, I will be taking a look at BFBOI, which in its fullest. I'm not gonna be skipping episodes because like who wants to watch a recap, bro? Who wants to watch a recap? I only watch recaps if they're songs and made by Levisha Battery. Okay. So I will. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's go look at some other shows because why not? Let's go. Alright, the next Object show that we're going to be taking a look at is one with 8 episodes. However, no, sorry. One with 9 episodes. I miscounted. However, they're all relatively fast because we're taking a look at Object Shmobject, which has ended up pretty high on the list simply by having a lot of episodes that released rather quickly. This show started 4 weeks ago, but it is still technically going with its latest episode releasing 5 days ago. I'm not sure how many episodes this is supposed to have, but either way, episodes are releasing quickly. Episodes are not very long. Episodes just kind of are. And you know, we're gonna look at it because, yeah, I don't really know what other time we would be capable of looking at it. I think this is a pretty nice little filler style episode to watch a filler show that wouldn't really fit in as his own thematic for an episode. No dissing to it, I just don't know how I would fit it. So we're gonna watch it. Object Shmobject 1. If this show gets cancelled on episode 3, I will explode. Let's go. Alright, I just watched Object Shmobject 1. Let's talk about here. So we have our host, Bread, and Bread introduces us to the contestants, of which there are 9. And here these 9 contestants end up having an intro which uses one of the best songs of all time, you know, the Blue Balls from Sonic 3, A Special Stage. Love that little jingle. That jingle that just repeats over and over. Da, 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 da. I don't know. That was one of the top jingles invented by humanity. But we end up having some people, most of them don't speak. Smellbook doesn't speak. Muggy doesn't speak. Jiggy wins the challenge. So yeah, they do speak. Robert, no, doesn't speak. Water Bottle doesn't speak. Also too tall. Amethyst doesn't speak, but they look pretty cool. I hope they win the show. Car, they do speak. They say, wow, object show, wow. Lego, they do speak. They say that they're bored. Pillbert, they are doing the challenge and then get pushed off. So yes, they do speak. So that's like a 50% accuracy of people speaking. It's pretty solid. I don't know why the puzzle piece is called Jiggy, but okay, maybe it's because I got Jigsaw. That makes sense. Everybody's up for elimination. We're pretty much just voting on vibes. I will be saying though that I do think it's pretty good that at least the character that spoke is the character that'd be most likely to get eliminated, which is the PNG. So yeah, I'm predicting, I don't know, Robert gets eliminated because they're creepy or whatever. I don't really know. But episode 2 of Object Shmobject is titled Jaylen's New Mixtape. Okay, great thumbnails, by the way. This show is amazing thumbnails. Okay, let's go. Okay, I was watched episode 2. So remember when I said that I wanted Amethyst to win? You know? Yeah, no, that's a world record level screw up. Okay, Amethyst got eliminated. By the way, Amethyst got eliminated with 113 votes to 41 to 40 to 2 to 2 to 1. Nah, nope. I refuse to believe that. That is an impossible ratio. None of the characters spoke. There is no information on these people. And you're telling me that based on the complete randomness of it, 113 people compared to 2 for Pilbit, that's less than 1. No, for Robert, let's say, because Robert didn't speak. So, like, between this 1v1, where both characters didn't speak, didn't do anything, you're telling me that less than 1% of those people picked Robert compared to Amethyst. What? Nah, these votes are hacked. Hacked votes, I'm telling you. Anyways, challenge, survive the evil explosion. There's an evil explosion. The smell book ends up surviving, and we have a voting screen that just so happens to have people that are up for voting not be in it, which is very smart. Bro. And apparently it's vote to save now, which might make it less chaotic because, like, you can't just spam vote to eliminate. Like, there's no way those votes were screwed up. Those votes had to have been tampered with. I refuse to believe that. Anyways, let's head into episode 3. Episode 3 is titled Horizontal. Go. Okay, I just watched episode 3. Now, I'm gonna just say something here while I can say it. I'm not gonna lie. The way that Lego looks makes them look surprisingly 3D. I don't know what it is about it. The way that the eyes and the mouth are drawn on this Lego, it makes them look more 3D than the rest, you know? There's just a vibe of the fact that, yeah, maybe they are actually facing the other direction, you know? Like, it doesn't... Like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Anyways, water bottle gets submitted with 2 votes. I mean, 2, 4, 12, 17, 24. I mean, it's a bit weird, but yeah, it still makes sense. The character that didn't speak out the least. So this is a voting I could definitely understand. Eventually, and there's also significantly less votes than last time, and that's suspicious. When like the last video, when I think episode 2 had like more views than episode 1. Anyways, we end up having the challenge, which isn't really a challenge, but we have a top hat. We have a top hat, and they're creepy, but don't worry, because Robert has arrived and will be running into them, which makes them die, because anything that touches Robert does become one with the void itself or something. I don't really know. But that is all for episode 3 of Object Shmobject. And what the hell is that? Okay, I think that's a sign that we gotta keep it moving. Episode 4. I guess I won't explode. Oh my god, because it's not the episode 1. Oh my, OMG, OMG. Okay, let's go. Alright, welcome to the episode where we have indeed not exploded. So in this episode we end up having Pilbert eliminated with how many vote saves? 11. The total has increased quite considerably again. It just seems like, yeah, there's sort of a battle between Lego and Jiggy right now. They seem to be kind of those top 2 contenders for the safety spot. And then everybody else is just kind of, you know, kind of a sad character, especially considering Pilbert kind of was... there hasn't really been relevant to episode 1, so yeah, the challenge ends up being to guess what the next challenge is. So Lego guesses what the next challenge is, doesn't guess it correctly, but does guess it, which Brett, it means to say, yeah, they technically win. Jiggy is very angry at this. I'm noticing how those two are getting more screen time than the rest. I'm just saying. I'm just saying they're getting more screen time than the rest. We might have some bias for the fan favorites. They're interacting. I'm just saying that is a thing that is happening today. Thing. Okay, I don't know what to say, but you know what I do enjoy? I enjoy how like the voting screen is like corrupted because like Robert just kind of invades everything like an eldritch monster. There's just a constant like squiggle going on. That's kind of funky. I haven't predicted eliminations. At this point, it's got to be Muggy's time to go, right? Surely, Muggy can't just get away with this forever. It's time. It's time to go. All right, time for episode 5 of Object Shmobject Lobject, which is titled "This is SHMALLOWEEN," because indeed this that episode released on Halloween, which is when the time frame of when the show was being created. Let's go. Let's watch it. Alright, so that is episode 5. We have more Lego and Jiggy interactions, still proving that they are the goats. Muggy gets eliminated. Look, you can get by on just simply not existing for a while, but at a certain point, you know, it becomes a bit like, okay, sure. Yeah, you out of here. So I agree. The total amount of votes is highly increasing. This show is making it to the big leagues. Object Shmobject making it all the way. Have our classic little intro. Da, 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 da. By the way, I like how the logo, like, it is literally a blue ball behind. I'm just saying. I don't know if that's intentional, but that is a thing that the show possesses. So that's kind of cool. And then our challenge ends up being Halloween themed, and I mean, in a bit of an unorthodox way, Jiggy asks Robert to do a scare, but unfortunately, Robert is just too scary for them. And then Robert inevitably wins, but I mean, like, that's what should happen. If in the Halloween themed episode, the eldritch being guy thing called Robert doesn't win that challenge that is Halloween themed, you are, you know, it's just wrong. It's physically correct. you know. So I'm glad that at least the character that obviously should win has won. Everybody else up for Elam. Is it the cat fella's time to go for being mad and annoying, or is it the smell book? It's probably the smell book. Let's keep it moving into episode 6, which is titled A Big One. Okay, I mean it's pretty big. The episode like double the length of the other ones. Let's go. Hello and welcome to episode 6. So this is the episode where we have all of the debutantes and their screen and the classic thingy. But first we have a challenge that is to eat a pizza. Why do we eat a pizza? Because we feel like eating a pizza. And Lego wins. So good job, Lego. I'm just gonna point out that like I'm not even gonna lie, the votes like this show. People just made up their mind. I mean, look, 95% 131 Lego, 73% 101 Jiggy. That is so much. 130, 100, 123, and 10. Like, I'm sorry to whoever's getting debuted, but it's done. It's over. You are dealing with the two juggernauts. These two are battling to the death. There's no way they're getting eliminated. Not enough vote to save. That's for sure. Like, what? Okay. But anyways, we end up having the debutantes, which there's a lot of them. You know, usually, to be fair, there is actually one interesting thing going on here. It's I don't know if the first character in the debut screen is going to join, because that nearly always happens. You know, the first character is the one that people vote for. However, the first character, actually, like the first two, they go by so unbelievably fast. They have like 0.3 seconds of screen time, but they almost might not make it. You know, maybe it might be the first one with screen time. So I'm gonna predict Oreo for A being a cool design. I really like the Oreo design. I mean the first character with lines properly in the debut screen. I'm gonna predict that they join. These fellas in the middle are always cooked. I'm not even gonna lie. Maybe EP might join to make a robber thing. Hopefully, I like the fire and water crystal because, of course, I'm an enjoyer of characters that are multiple ones. One could join if people like Teapot. If you find it funny. There is a couple of characters which I do think are just cool designs. I like Quiver. I like Wicked. Wicked looks fire. I really want Wicked to join. I would have voted Wicked personally, but I don't think they're gonna join. But I would vote them because I really like how they look. The battery's kind of funny. The chicken nuggets. Oh yeah, the Christmas fellas. And yeah, I mean it's the Hunger Games out here. My predictions are probably gonna be EP and Oreo, but other than that, I don't really know. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to see how the voters feel. The voters have been pretty predictable. You know, they vote Jiggy and Lego, and that's about it for for what they do. That's the end of the things that they do. But we'll see. And in the eliminated, I mean, Robert might have less. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Maybe, let's say Robert gets it. Let's say, I think it's time for the smell book to go, I think. Time for episode 7, Wine Stopper's big debut. I've realized that it shows do this, and it's always wrong. So, somebody other than Wine Stopper's debut. Let's go. Okay, I just watched Object Shmobject 7. Okay, hold on a minute. Hold on one bloody minute. One minute. We got 1,143 votes. From where? What? What is this? Where are these votes? I'm sorry. It's not that you can get 1,143 votes. It's just that I don't think you can get 1,143 votes when the last video had 927 views right now, let alone in like 48 hours. What in the world? How is that? How does that happen? That's not a thing that can happen. That's not how Earth works. Like, either the people are no, you just have to be allowed to vote multiple times. Like, there's nothing that you can do. Like, you either have to be, or somebody bought it, or I don't really know. Cause like, what do you mean? How many? 1,100, and again, you are telling me that out of those 1,000 individual people, okay, we got freaking how many? 400 to pick Sparkle. like 50% of the 27 of the 1,100, about roughly like 48 or whatever percent, okay, decided to pick Sparkle between the 27 options that were on the table. I refuse to believe that. I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. Especially because Jiggy was eliminated, apparently, suddenly, because they were the favorite in every other elimination. But now that there's suddenly 1,000 votes, it just so happens that it's literally 60% of people picked, like, Smellbook? Really? Real? That's crazy. I don't know. Like, that's insanity. I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer because Stillman didn't even do anything in the last episode. It's like, what in the world? What is going on with these votes? These votes are the most suspicious votes I've ever seen. Okay? Look, if there are actually the 700 people that decided, yo, we're gonna vote Smellbook in this episode because we have suddenly appeared and didn't exist before but now do, um, then, like, sure, I admit I'm wrong, but I'm gonna say when I think a vote is suspect, I'm gonna say a vote is suspect, and in this case, I think that this vote is extremely suspect. I've already been suspicious of it before, like with episode 2, but I think this vote is extremely suspect. I'm suspicious of this, like, a lot. But okay, then, okay. We have our challenge, which isn't really a challenge, to be honest. But either way, it ends up that Sparkle and Lego are automatically safe, I guess, by existing, which means that Robert and Smellbook are both up for elimination. Don't really know why, but okay then. But yeah, I don't know. These votes, they ain't right. Something's fishy's going on, alright? In one direction or another. Not the band. Let's go to episode 8 of Object Shmobject. Evil, what the frick? Okay, let's go. So, I just watched episode 8 of Object Shmobject. We have ourselves an intro that's a very high quality. I don't really know if this is original, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, but it's very high quality, whatever it is. We have this, like, Jupiter-style planet in between two Earths. And then we get to see some, like, pen character in the desert, but then eventually we cut off. So whatever that was, I don't really know what that was. If it's a reference to something, I'm sure it's a reference to something great. I do like how, like, whether it was either this episode or like the last one, we corrected the name of Slime because Slime was the name of the character, but in the intro it was always Car because, cat. So I'm glad that we have a correction on that. And I also will say that it is smart that we always left in the intro a spot open for Sparkle eventually to join, which is quite nice. Anyways, 5,700 votes. 5,500 of those go to Robert because voters can vote multiple times. That is the ambulance right there. It is calling for all people who like fair voting. I don't know if you could even hear it, but there is an ambulance outside. Like, that is crazy. I mean, like, it's a joke show, but do you really want to reward the people who are just willing to spend 3 hours botting 5,000 responses to a Google form to dictate how your entire show is gonna go? Like, I understand that it's a joke show and maybe you don't care, but it's like, bro, just, it's not that, like, it's not that hard to, like, I don't know, do it on the YouTube comment. And of course, you can alt YouTube comments, but it's just, or you can just do anything. It's like, it's not fair the way that it is if you can obviously rig the vote and, like, 2 people are going to be controlling the entire show. And it's like, it loses some of the fun value, It just loses a bit of the fun value when the character do that. So I'm absolutely a big disagreeer of whatever it is that's going on, because it's just, this is what the hell, you're ruining the fun for everybody. You're ruining the fun voting 5,000 times. What the fuck? It's like, bro, it's not fun. So, okay. If you're curious, the challenge is that Evil toss up and has a monologue about being evil until Lego suddenly appears and then they disappear, and then Sparkle and Robert are for elimination because I don't really know. These challenges have just started to just completely deteriorate. Like, I haven't even really thought about them because they're just nothing. You know, these challenges are just nothing. I don't know. I'm just kind of disappointed that we're getting 5,000 votes. Obviously, they're getting botted, but we're just no. This is okay. I'll let this happen. Like, bro, nah, do something, bro. It's not fun now. Whatever. Anyways, episode 9 and the latest episode of Object Shmobject. Welcome to the underground. Okay, that is episode 9 of Object Shmobject. So we get to see here our characters, an intro with a funny little orange guy, and then with a freaking a grand total of like how many votes is that? 4,008, 9,000 total votes casted. 9,000. It ends up being rather even because it seems like the vote spammers are now just battling each other on who can spam more. Because again, we did not get 9,000 organic votes on an episode with 600 views. That did not happen. But then Robert gets eliminated. Sparkle survives. So good job, Sparkle. You have successfully botted more. Isn't that just so fun? So enjoyable. Such fun, authentic voting. You're so good at wasting your time voting 4,000 times. I just hit the microphone. The audio probably cut off. This is just so enjoyable. We wasted like 3 hours so that you could vote 4,000 times compared to the other guy who wasted their time and didn't even win voting 4,000 times. Yeah. You go get him. You're so cool with your fucking bitch ass voting 1 billion times. Yeah. Can you tell I hate this? What the fuck? It's not. This isn't good. Like, why would this be? It's like, nah. Why? You're just letting it happen? You're just letting people spend like hours to rig your own voting. So then, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't feel like a winner's ever gonna be a winner. Like, whether Lego or Sparkle wins, I don't care now because there wasn't a decision. There wasn't a decision. It was just whoever spammed more. And Sparkle spams. Because that's how they won the freaking debut. Like, it's just, what the hell? And you can tell that the numbers are progressively increasing because we're going, oh yeah, I gotta one up the last spam to win this time. So that I don't get caught out. And it's like, dude, it's nah, I don't know. And it's like it's not that hard to fix. I think. Like, YouTube comments would have worked, I think. Okay, I get that YouTube comments are kind of annoying, but they would work better than this, you know? Like the this is dumb. I'm just gonna say it straight up. This is dumb. But anyways, talking about the show, we get to see the underground. Everybody gets sent, and I've just been relaxing. Some people in talking, some people are water bottle. Yeah, nobody knows what the water bottle's saying. I like how Amethyst tries to predict the top 3 as Lego, Sparkle, and Pilbert, because Pilbert isn't there in the elimination area because I don't know, they died, like they literally died, so I guess they didn't get to go there, which is an interesting prediction, but yeah, then the contestant who knew got it. Then we got more Wicked content. I'm telling you, Wicked's the goal. I'm telling you, Wicked's like the best character ever invented in humanity. Even when we're eliminated in episode 9, we randomly get Wicked content. I think that's the eliminated contestant that speaks the most. Out of like the failed debutant, that speaks the most. Look at their design. Their design's so cool. They look swag. Shout out Wicked. Okay. Yeah. Eventually, all the other people are chilling. They have a conversation. About how like making fun of Sparkle for having botted the votes, even though yes, that's literally what they did. And loud and proud. And then we have ourselves a vote to win Sparkle or Lego. I'm predicting Sparkle because Sparkle's botting more votes, but I don't know. Lego fans might clutch up here, but I don't know. So Jiggy fans got caught out massively. So will Sparkle fans clutch up? I don't really know. But will Lego fans clutch up here on the finish line? I don't know. Lego would be the worthy winner, as you know, the main characters, and usually debutantes don't tend to win. However, this show has bullshit voting that is obviously rigged, but we're letting that happen anyways, because why the hell not? If you the winner is whoever wastes more time voting. Like, what a sad life. I'm telling you, what a sad life, the life of botting 5,000 votes. It's like, what a sad life you live, person on the internet, okay? I am I'm going at your throat, okay? You have directly ruined this, okay? My opinion is this. By you in starting this revolution, that person who bought it, you are the ruination of this show. This very well animated, this very fun, very fast production, despite the fact that the animation is rather solid. It's a fun show that I would have enjoyed watching, absolutely. But you have ruined it. You person who rigged the votes, okay? You have ruined it. Alright? And I am pissed at that person, okay? Whatever. Let's go to the next thing. Alright, the next hobby show that we're going to be taking a look at is titled Void, or The Void, depending on where you look. It is created by Camdino1. It released a couple of days ago. It's episode 1, which is, however, the second episode because there's a pilot of it, which we are going to watch because why not? I'm not 100% sure what to expect here. Apparently, Camdino is a 12-year animator according to themselves, but we're going to be watching here The Void, starting off here with the pilot and then reaching episode 1, which is titled Hello World. But we're going to start here with the pilot. Let's go. Okay, I just watched the pilot of Void. So, yeah, it is in fact a pilot. It's very much so a proof of concept. Like, hello, these are the characters, this is our cast, and they're gonna go into the Void and do a thing. Do you enjoy this idea? And you know what? It seems like the consensus was yes, because it's got like what 2,000 views, did pretty well for itself. And overall, we have a pretty interesting cast of character. We have some goofballs, we have some friendos, we have some fellows who have a recovery machine that exists. I will say one of the things that I think this show stands out for, in my opinion, is that like there's a pretty good usage of audio. Audio editing for this show was this video was good. I'm not gonna lie. Like the way that the music arrived, sped itself up, slowed itself back down, for example, when there was the crack on the sound, and the amount of sound effects that did pretty well. Like how when they were having like the conversation, like when Bo and Tape talk about the hospital, you slowly heard the wind rustling, even though like I would for a moment I was generally like, what is this noise that I'm hearing? Is this intentional? Is this in real life? It's not. You can slowly hear the wind rustling, and then it gets stronger, and then it gets stronger, and then eventually they point it out. But I like how like it comes in before, like in a different scene. It's not sudden. It's like it's a thing that is happening in the universe as we're watching this thing happen, which I think is great. So the audio for this is amazing. Anyways, we have a phone which seems to talk with a voice filter. I like how when somebody calls the phone has to vibrantly like shake. So like, imagine if they're just trying to sleep. Wallet and Dollar are, I guess, a duo. I mean, not really. They don't know each other. But Money tried to hitch a ride in the wallet. That's fair. And the wallet doesn't even know how they're alive, which fair enough, I guess. They try to go to the bull wants to go to the hospital, but yeah, I mean everybody's plans gets severely stopped by the fact that there is a void, that a black hole has suddenly arrived to suck literally everybody in. And it's not a great moment. I like how everybody screaming except Brett, who doesn't even know what's going on. So it's just like, this sounds pretty bad, but I don't know what the number 3 is. I'm just like Valve. So they end up getting sucked in, and I mean, if I looked at this pilot, I would think it's very promising. I really like the audio work that is done in this pilot. I think the voice acting was pretty solid, and we've got a cast that can definitely make for some interesting things. You know, goofy dumb characters. We got some smarter, more methodical characters as well. Though we have some more mischievous characters. We have mean characters. We have some duos, right? Like we've got all of the inner workings here of what could be a pretty interesting show. So let's find out if this interesting show is indeed interesting, because it's time for episode 1, titled Hello World. Let's go, let's watch it, let's talk about it. Hello, I have just come back from watching Hello World, which is, of course, the first episode of Void. So, we begin right where we left off the other time with everybody in the void and dropping down with a recovery machine into a weirdly 3D looking square in the middle of the void. There's a bunch of other things that are just kind of sitting there, floating around, not really doing that much. But yeah, that's the environment that we're in. I'm gonna point out something which I didn't point out in the pilot, but the captions on this show, they're just one, you know? They're just like, yes. They're just like, cool. I love meta captions as well. Like, while I don't mind captions that aren't meta, I do also think that these type of meta captions where the captions are like directly sort of responding to the action, like when something bad happened and you can read at the bottom, oh, that's not good. I kind of enjoy that, you know, because it gives off a fun vibe, because you can tell that whoever wrote it had a fun time writing, you know, that you can tell, you can transmit the fun from the caption into the into yourself, and it just makes it a more fun experience, while still keeping the seriousness of the actual captions themselves, which is pretty solid. So we then have our host, the Cube. Yes, Cube, and they are a 3D cube that is anime. I don't know how to describe this style. It's like it's asset style, but still it's like 3D. It's like you were using a 3D asset, in the way that it moves. So it just ends up feeling a lot different than usual. Um, so they end up deciding and telling our backstory. So we were in a void. There were nothing in there because I don't know, they just existed. So they ended up being in the void and ended up going to find a universe in the void, because apparently the void is, you know, the place between the universes. This is the multiverse theory. So they end up going in there, but then that universe explodes. It is not compatible because they did not invent 3D in their universe. Even though, I mean, okay, I mean, if you, okay, look, I'd understand if you were a 4D entity, because of course 4D isn't a thing, but 3D, that's just the universe. Like, I understand the asset style characters might not be in 2D, might be in 2D, but like, I don't know, the world itself could be pretty 3D. Well, whatever. I mean, we're in an object world, we're not talking about real life. Yeah, so they ended up trying to build a machine thing by grabbing scrap pieces of the machine from each universe. However, in this universe, they didn't realize was that there were people here. So, um, they ended up tagging along, I guess, when they got to grab the universe piece. So, yeah, you can go to apparently every single universe, infinite universe. However, their universe has been deleted, which is pretty interesting. And now they're going all insane about the fact that the universe got deleted. One of the things that kind of strikes me a weird way about it is that, like, the thing about like, this shouldn't be that big of a deal if there's infinite universes, you know. Like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like the multiverse theory is such a crazy theory, right? Because everything in the world, like, lines up with it, in like literally everything, every decision causes a multiverse technically, which means that it's like, sure, maybe your universe doesn't exist, but you can probably just go to the universe where one piece of grass is missing. You know, you can go to the universe where, like, friggin' bread said tomato instead of potato that one time in 2011. You know, like it's not. It's like it doesn't change. It wouldn't change that much. So they could just go to another universe of a similar style. Basically, the type of it. I understand that feeling of belonging, like, oh, it's my universe. But if something has been replicated to perfectly the same, is it really that different? It's kind of like saying, no, but I want to live in my house. Okay, sure. But if right next to your house you were to recreate a house that is exactly the same, with the same items, everything being literally the same to your house. Yes, it's not your house, but it is exactly the same. So it might as well be, right? I don't really agree with how people sometimes say, like, no, it has to be mine, but specifically this one. You know, like, it's kind of like, bro, there's nothing different about it. It is the same thing. You know, so yeah. Anyways, I have yapped about that for too long. So we have ourselves not really a challenge there. They've just got and this isn't a competition show yet. So they decide that they are going to grab garbage. All right, they need to guard trash. So they're going to be sent to the trash planet to retrieve some trash from Trashington. Which is a person that is literally a pile of trash, and that way they can build beds and houses for them to sleep in. So we end up going to the trash planet, and they end up going to get trash because they also have to deliver that one parcel with crusted eggshells or something. However, they kind of cause a little bit of a mess because the older friend ends up that they are, you know, they get punched in the face by Fork, which is, the aggressive mean character. So now they're just suddenly rooted. You know what I find interesting is, like, how are you an old friend? You know? I just got that interesting. Because Cube, I guess, maybe it wasn't always a Cube. Because Trashington is just a normal guy. There's nothing special about him. He's just the trash guy living in a trash dimension who's normal 2D and everything. Right? So, was Cube one day not a 3D entity? Because, like, I thought that Cube was like, yo, I can't go into universes. I've just never been in one. So then it's like, okay, sure, but then it's that, how do you know trashing, or are you just lying? Or just lying and go and saying, oh yeah, no, yeah, my old friend. No, but the old friend knows about Cube. So, like, I don't know, but the Cube couldn't ever enter the dimension to give off the packages of the crusty eggshells. So that means that the Cube at some point needed to not be a 3D cube. Is basically the type of thing that I'm saying, which is interesting. Little detail. I don't know if this is an intentional detail or if it's just an error, but I think it's interesting. You could work with that. Like, oh, Cube, I wasn't always a 3D being. One time I was even 1D or whatever. Right? But yeah. But then they don't end up trading the trash, so they decide to build a very large stack. And in this very large stack, oh yeah, the Cube is top 10 spheres. What? They end up retrieving trash from the ceiling. No, from like the friggin' attic. For some reason, the trash all explodes outwards, and now they're just swimming in trash. I am gonna say here, I don't know why we necessarily needed to bring in specifically the trash bags from Trashington's house. I mean, we got to zoom out of the landscape. There are trash bags literally everywhere, and nothing necessarily has implied that the trash bags inside Trashington's house are more important than the trash bags outside Trashington's house. Like, nothing has implied that those two are different things. Nothing about the bag is different, other than the fact that it exploded out of the attic, I guess. So, I mean, you could have probably just gone away with grabbing the bags outside. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everything's just packaged in the same way and it's different things. So it's like outside it's like peanut butter. And then inside it's like big materials, hammers and shit. But then why would it be in a trash bag? I don't know. We're in the trash dimension, okay? So they end up going to the void. And now with their trash that they have accumulated, they end up building houses for them all, rooms for them to stay in, which I must say are the epitome of not privacy. They're literally like a 1x1 cube. That's not even a cube. It's like less than a cube with one wall open at all times, so that they can't even be in a room by themselves. And either way, nothing fits except the bed. So it's like the saddest joke of a house ever. But okay. Galassi ends up wondering, we gotta be back home to the dimension. So I mean, yeah, how are you going to do that? Like, to be fair, Fork has a point. How are you gonna do that? You know, like there's a certain point where it's like, sure, you have to go back to the main dimension or whatever, but it's like, like you're going back to the main dimension, but how? You know, like you gotta form a plan. Like this is the thing that people that a lot of characters do or say. It's like, no, I know that we have currently fallen into a new dimension, but we gotta get out of here. And it's like, how are you gonna get out of here? What are you gonna jump off into the void, go find out what's on there? Like, it's not, you know, or is there an invisible wall? I mean, technically, you could just jump. Like, is there gravity? I mean, there is gravity because we saw Tapey bouncing around. But then, if there's gravity, why is the stuff floating? So there isn't gravity, or there is gravity. How does gravity work in the void? That's a new question. You can answer that today. Like, because surely there isn't like an atmospheric bubble around specifically the platform. I mean, at least we haven't seen one when the thing was zoomed out. So I don't know. But because like I'm wondering because the specific like blocks that are standing like 1 meter out, they're just floating, as in they have no like collision to them. They seem to be just floating there, which means that they don't have gravity to deal with, but the characters deal with gravity. I mean, look, these are the type of questions. Are they that big of a deal? No, but do you inevitably have to deal with them when you make the decision that you are going to set your show in the void? Yes, because now I want to know what the hell happens if you just jump off. Like, I don't, like, it's an important, I want to answer. Because, like, okay, theoretically, you could say, oh, they'll die, but will they? Like, it's the void. It's infinity. It's infinity. Technically, they won't die if they just jump off and are falling forever. Or would they fall? Like, would they fall? Because there's no gravity in the outside of the void, right? So would they just float there forever? Would they be stuck? Like, what would happen? It's just like, these are the type of questions that I wonder. Because, I mean, it's the only way that I can imagine leaving other than, trying to confiscate the computer or whatever and trying to TP back to their own dimension, even though that PC doesn't really seem to have much guiding to it. It just seems to sort of press and you go to a universe. I think that's what Brett did. So, yeah, that's Void 1. I will say we have, I think, relaxed a bit on the music and sound effects usage that I was a big fan of in the pilot. Here, we've definitely toned it down a bit, which I find a bit unfortunate. I mean, it's still present, and I still do enjoy it. I still will say that it's one of the strong parts of the show. However, I do think that the audio editing has been mildly toned down, so I don't think it's quite as impressive in this episode. At least I've noticed it less. But to be fair, this episode was, I guess, a little bit less crazy than the first episode. Animation was very interesting because, of course, it had to deal with a lot of 3D elements, the environment being 3D in some places and the environment sometimes being 2D. I don't mind because, especially with the attitude of this show, it seems like, it's one of those shows where we're going to be traveling the world a lot, but we're going to be traveling the multiverse, right? So, which means that we probably can't ever put too much attention on any one background or environment, because like we're just going to be going here, going there, going everywhere, right? And it's just going to kind of it's going to change a lot, like we can't get too used to the trash dimension. We're probably not going to be getting back there in Void 2, we're probably going to be a completely different planet, right, doing random tasks and stuff. So yeah, that is all I think I've got to say here about Void. It's a cool show with a cool premise. Of course, it's gonna kind of depend episode by episode what we're gonna be doing. I mean, it has set up a certain amount of plot points that we could, be following in future episodes. Like, oh, we need to get the machine to work. In the meantime, these other people might be trying to leave, right? Maybe there's gonna be unfinished business. Maybe the Cube is gonna decide to host a competition if they're really that bored, right? Or maybe they're gonna try to get rid of them. I don't really know. Maybe new people are gonna come in. That's technically possible, right? We could technically have a new people come in if they decide to enter a new universe and those people get all destroyed, right? So like all that stuff's possible. We could just be doing a different quest every episode to eventually power up the machine. There's a lot of stuff that's possible, but in general, currently we don't really have, I think, the means of predicting it. But yeah, I mean, this is an exciting little show, and I'm interested to see where it goes in the future of itself. All right, that is all for Void. Let's go to the next thing. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Sinister Showdown. Because, well, we took a look at the first part of Sinister Showdown 8, which released a couple of days ago. That video has since been removed and been replaced with Sinister Showdown 8, the full episode titled Found You. All right, so we're going to be, I guess, talking about the second part of the video, but since, of course, it's a combined episode, we're kind of just going to be discussing it fully. All right, Sinister Showdown 8. Let's go! Okay, so that is episode 8 of Sinister Showdown. Found You. So, well, I mainly still recommend probably going to look at my Sinister Showdown 8 discussion that I gave. It is over in episode 31. If you don't know what episode it is the last thing I take a look at in episode 31, because there isn't going to be too much for me to add on to this. So, if I'm not mistaken, last time when I originally wrapped up discussing Sinister Showdown 8 Part 1, I had made my prediction. I had a feeling that it was the green circle fella from the other show, what is it called? Point of Object? Point of Order, I think. So the fellas from that show, who, like, the green fella from that show has arrived here looking for revenge after they got revived because they died. So they're like, you know what? This one Lego guy killed me. Yeah, therefore, you know what that means? That means that we must murder everybody in that universe because I am a sociopath. Because that is the type of logic that we are getting delivered here, which, you know what? Sure, fair enough. And then eventually we end up having the thing. So I think roughly we also have the return of evil knife. So it's interesting because if you remember a couple episodes ago in Sinister Showdown, we had we had Knife, which was the host, and the Evil Knife. Now you could tell because Evil Knife had a deranged face. In this one, this Evil Knife, I believe, has a bit doesn't look that different. Are they evil? They look exactly the same. That's kind of the thing. They look the same because they have the more stylized eyes with pupils and stuff. But to be fair, the normal knife also has those eyes with pupils. So, like, I'm guessing that it's evil knife because I don't know why the main knife would start just running around with an axe and murdering everybody that they see. All right, but like. In general, I don't know. Dice gets murdered. Somebody else also gets murdered. The one who was with Knife. And then in the meantime, we have a little bit of a flashback to the Point of Order because apparently their final challenge is to murder everybody in the Sinister Showdown universe. And then the two hit contestants, first place and second place, are apparently going to go do that. So, yeah, Sinister Showdown, you are cooked. You are cooked. You got a host and then their evil variant that murders everybody for no reason, and then you've got a different show whose entire challenge is to go through the multiversal portal and murder everybody in your show for some reason. I don't think Ticket was like. I mean, I understand that there was a disturbance, right? But Ticket, from host to host, you should understand. Like, the contestants came in and did a mad disturbance, but like, you didn't. It's not that deep. You don't have to make it your entire show to murder the other show. Like, look, 4 from BFB never was like, alright guys, so today we are going to be murdering everybody in Sinister Showdown. Because that also happened. Remember, 4 died. So it's like, damn. You know, it's like, damn. These fellas, they ain't playing. You do not mess with Point of Order, which is a show I literally can't find. I've literally checked their channel for the show that has Ticket as a host. I don't know what it is. This channel has 1 million shows. So I'm very sorry. I think it's is it ILOW? I think it's ILOW. which I don't really remember what it stands for. So I think that has Ticket as a host, but either way, yeah, we're voting. There is voting open. I'm not sure for what, because like what do you mean elimination? But there's not been a challenge. You know, like how are we eliminate? We're voting for what? Nobody lost. Everybody actually more instead of nobody lost, everybody lost because everybody's dead. So I'm not exactly sure how exactly we've got voting happening in this episode, but okay, I guess. I mean, I guess you could do that. So, all right, that's Sinister Showdown. You know, yeah, we get to wrap up here the episode. Honestly, they didn't have that much added to it. I would have probably just recommended to make it one part. Like, you know, having that part one release probably wasn't really needed, you know, or like we were only gonna add like 3 scenes. So, like we didn't really double that length. We like friggin' half, like we added like 30% or something. Like it wasn't that big of a deal, right? So yeah, but overall it's cool. I mean, this episode, however it is a massive improvement to the previous Sinister Showdown episode, which pretty much make no sense. Reasons are at least understandable, and there's a plot arc going on, which I'm very satisfied with. But hey, we have made a plot arc. Now it's up to you to continue it and make it make sense and to make it work. All right. Good luck to you. Let's go next. Alright, the next show that we're going to be keeping up with is going to be Object Goof. Object Goof, the hit series that goes by very quickly, has a very long intro, but somehow still manages to have this weird, interesting, eerie vibe that I always found very interesting. It has had its episode 4 released, which is titled Whatever Forms a Cloud, I guess. It is the same length as the other ones, so let's head into it. Let's watch it. It's actually done very well for itself. 130 views in 2 days, nearly the most of the entire series. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it. Bam! Alright, so, I have just come back from watching Object Goof 4. I will never get over the fact that there's a 20-second like intro in a 1-minute show. But anyways, we end up having here our characters. Clock ends up getting eliminated with about 5 votes. And we get to hear the first line of Dime. And as soon as Dime, I love how like I think it's Dime's like first line in the entirety of the show. And immediately the first thing that happens is we tell him to shut up. So that's fun. Clock ends up getting eliminated with 5 votes, which is way more than everybody else, but also makes sense. I think that was the only character, that's the only other character that also basically hadn't spoken. So goodbye. And then we have a challenge, which is to throw balls. Now, obviously, when the host says that the challenge is to throw balls, you have to do exactly the opposite to survive. You actually have to do nothing. You have to not even arrive in the vicinity of a ball. You have to be as far away from all balls as possible because the host said so, and it's opposite day or something. So, okay then. Rolling Pin Jr. throws the balls at Dime and Brick, or like Lego, right? Yeah, and a Lego Brick, which means that they're up for elimination because they threw the ball for some reason, and then the others because I guess they had they touched the ball. I mean, they got hit by the ball, I guess. End up also being up for Elim. So Dime, Brick, and Rolling Pin Jr. are up for Elim. Who gets eliminated? I'm gonna say Brick because Brick didn't speak in this episode, but they have been pretty active in speaking in other episodes, so I don't really know. And Rolling Pin Jr. has been actively the most active character in the show by like quite a bit, so it is gonna be interesting to see if that's a thing that they might get eliminated for simply just being too active, because like nearly every episode there's always a Rolling Pin Jr. line, so that'll be interesting to see. And then we had the return of the Void Eaters. Crumble and Lemony just spent like 100, like I don't even, probably just been talking for multiple weeks. If we're going on real time, these two have just been chilling there in the void, sitting down, having a conversation. They're the two quiet characters. Oh, come on. Yes, I love that. Imagine them two, they're just chilling and they're just talking and being bros. It's like there's nothing better to do, so we just talk. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. I love that. Because I remember last episode I was complaining that, yo, this void is a cool concept. I want to see more. I want to see somebody pop into it. And we got to see the Lemony be in it and talking to the cookie, to Crumble. Sorry, they're called Crumble. But it's like, yes, I get to imagine cute interactions now. I'm a big fan of when I get to do that. So, all right, yeah, Object Goof continues to be its vibe, but just in the way that it uses the music, and the host makes sense but doesn't, and the cast is well animated but also not, and they're relaxed but also chaos, right? Like it's fast but also slow. Like it manages to give itself a very interesting vibe that I don't think I've seen another show replicate, to be honest. As far as these like 1 minute Leo Object shows go, they've been relatively different. This one manages to like generally as far as 1 minute shows go, I feel like this one is the one that directly feels the slowest, like it doesn't feel like it's going by that fast, but then nope, it's an entire episode done in 1 minute and like two characters ever spoke and the host did the elimination 1 second, but it doesn't feel like that, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, you can apparently recommend a debut for Object Goof, which it is a thing that you can do, I guess. Should I do that? No, let's not do that. Do I? Should I? Chat. Do I submit somebody? I don't have an OC. This is one of the things that I have been missing. I've been missing. I don't have an audio OC. I don't got those. Like I just have like the cube that I have in my profile picture is like obsolete from a different era. So it's like that's not got anything to do with object shows. That's just a completely different thing, right? So yeah, I mean, okay, that's all I've got to say here about Object Goof. Next. Alright, so the next object show that we're going to be taking a look at, you know what it is? It is the show with the best name ever, AOSBNRAOSBIAJOS by Dreamy Fiery. Yesterday had its episode 5 release. Of course, we've been keeping up with it ever since. Last time was episode 4. We had a debut results, and we discovered that what were you called? Diction debuted, and that they had a new voice out and everything, and they immediately managed to touch the iceberg while everybody else was up for elimination. Let's find out what happens. Episode 5, McDonald's in the Pentagon. That's a song. Let's go. Alright, so that is episode 5 of AOSBNRAOSBIAJOS, the best title for any show ever. So we end up having a new intro here because, of course, we need an intro with, we need to renew a version of the intro because now we have diction present, so they need to get turned around. To be fair to this intro, it's animated pretty well still, which is nice. I think the main thing that's, got going for it is that it's got this flip a clip movingness that the acid style of the regular show kind of doesn't have, and maybe it makes it look cheaper, I guess, but it also does make it easier to make, so it's not really that it's not like a crazy thing. We have our challenge here, which is to run and do a race. It's a race to somewhere. I don't know. You have to get from the start to the finish. Now, what is the start and what is the finish? We do not know. That is not info that we are getting given to us. Okay, that is the we need to talk. We're talking too advanced stuff here, right? However, they're all running, having a close race. However, Candle and Diction find the Pentagon. Okay, they just happen to run into it, and they go like, "Yo, there's a McDonald's in there." So you know what they do? They go and they enter the Pentagon because they're allowed to do that. They are apparently. And then they order McDonald's in the Pentagon, like the song. So then they, of course, lose the challenge because the McDonald's in the Pentagon was not the finish line, unfortunately. However, Himshies, which I guess doesn't want to eat McDonald's because I guess their food is... There is a question of would a food character get hungry? Because, they are food, so technically, I don't know, something like that might be a thing. But, and then eventually the episode ends with them two being up for elimination, Diction and Candle. And you know what? You know what's something I'm going to say? Usually I would go, oh, we don't need to hear the entire song. This is McDonald's in the Pentagon that we're talking about. Of course we need to listen to the entire song. It's only about a minute. So, you know, I don't mind the extended credits with random bullshit written on it. Costume design, what the hell, dude? The sound design, I don't know at this point. Makeup department, I'm not doing credits again. Right? It's like, you know what? It's McDonald's in the Pentagon. Of course we need to hear it. It's the greatest track of all time. It's so funny because it's true. You know, like it's such a funny little song. And I'm glad that we've got culture present here in the Object Show community, right, as well. You know, I'm glad that we know about these cultural icons and iconic things in history, such as the song about the McDonald's in the Pentagon, which is one of the best tracks ever made. So, yeah, big fan of that. Yeah, it's such funny. It's, but yeah, I mean, as an episode, it's alright. It makes use of a joke when you know it. It's a joke show. I don't remember what AOSBNRAOSBIAJOS stands for again. Like, it's another. What was it? What the hell was it? I'm trying to remember the title. Another object show, but now random again object show because I no. What if I say? Hold on. Another object show because now I don't know what the R's be. Okay, you know, I don't remember what I'm unfortunate. I don't remember what AOSBNRAOSBIAJOS stand for. You know, I've gotten so used to saying AOSBNRAOSBIAJOS because it's the best way to say a thing ever that I don't actually remember what it stands for. Because OS would probably be Object Show. J probably stands for Joke Object Show. Another, what would it be? I'm annoyed now. Let me check episode 1 because I think they said in episode 1 for a second. Hold on. Hold up. What it stands for, an object show, but not really an object show because it's a joke object show. Okay, so I was correct that the OS is object show and the J is joke. But yeah, I wasn't too sure. An object show, but not really an object show. I mean, it's an object show. A joke object show is still an object show, but okay, alright. Well, that's AOSBNRAOSBIAJOS. Let's go next. Alright, next up we are going back to the One Take Object Show created by Square One, which is also, you know, a viewer of the channel from time to time. Episode 4 release called November 13th for some reason. Last time a pink guy had a divorce, we had a challenge that I don't even remember what the challenge was. Find the worst thing. Didn't really make that much sense, but then eventually a couple of people were up for elimination and then a couple of people were up for debut. So we're gonna have to find out what is going to happen here. I don't remember who I predicted. I think I predicted the glove, but quite frankly, I don't really know. So we'll have to find out in episode 4, November 13th. Okay, I just watched the One Take Object Show 4, November 13th. So, I'm not gonna lie, right? I'm not gonna lie here. This might be the most legendary take of the century. I'm not sure how much was pre-planned here, but that is crazy. Like there was no slip up in this take. Like nothing was said wrong. Everything seemed pretty correct. You know, and stuff was timed. Stuff made sense. There was like a cohesive plot arc. Like, this is the take of all time. There's nothing incorrect about it. This is the One Take Object Show, but it's more like just the object show. The Good Take Object Show. What is that? That is crazy. What? Like, maybe the only thing that was random was the taco line. I don't know. That was a bit random. But other than that, everything made sense. Right? November 13th, Gummy Bear album. We did all the voting and it all made sense. Glovey joined. Like, then the challenge ends up being to make them mad, and then everybody successfully makes them pretty mad, right? And then it's like, yeah, I mean, some of the the gags in this episode do get off a bit scot-free because they're audio based. Like, for example, like when Ghost is dancing to a song, right? That's all not part of the take. So in a way, you get off scot-free in those aspects. Same thing goes for the gummy bear. It's like when you just gotta say, you know what happens on November 13th, and then eventually you edited the gummy bear album in, right? So sometimes, to be fair, we do get off scot-free when, of course, something has to be edited into the show. But but still, the take itself goes crazy. I mean, that it is pretty wild. The grandma getting sad. What is what did the text say? Oh yeah, apparently they hate Hawaiian music. Hawaii killed his family or something. I don't know, man. Interesting. Oh yeah, I guess though there was pretty random when oh yeah, like for example, the boiling of the test tube. Like again, that's not a thing you can do in the take, I think. So you gotta kind of add it in. So you see, we are doing it pretty smart. Like it's pretty smart though, Like we are having an object show with a restriction, right? The restriction is you're doing one take. So if we're directly just doing it in a way that allows the post-production to make it seem more cohesive, right? Then it makes sense. I don't blame it. You are playing by a system and you're using the rules to your advantage. Because it's like, for example, if you're doing a one-take object show and you go like, hey, look at this. And then they go, yeah, this is very good. Like, you don't necessarily need to have decided what this is by the time you did it. You can edit it in later. But you see, it's like you're using the rules to make something work, even though it's not quite it. So I personally am actually a fan of this. But yeah, the pink guy gets mad at everything. They get mad at the test tube because apparently they weren't doing something science related. Even though I'm just saying that the liquid, the testing liquid itself, right, is a scientific thing, and it is boiling, which means that there literally was science being done. Like the liquid in the test tube, it is like it's a sciencey liquid, right? Because it's like a blend, right? It's green and stuff. I'm presuming it's not like Gatorade. Imagine Mountain Dew. No. And then it was boiling. So that means the science was being done. So like this whole crash out is kind of a bit goofy because like you were literally doing science. But yeah, you have the crash out. It ends up being pretty solid. I mean, look, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by this take. I don't know. I'm very impressed by this take. Because you're 4 minutes into the take, and then you're already going, and then you immediately start the crash out and nail it. Like, that's crazy, no? I don't know if any of this is scripted or anything, but like, it's solid. You are bold. Cool. And then, eventually, Glovey wins, I guess, because they tried to be the president of America. So good job. And also you rejoined, so it'd be weird if you lost. Vote to eviscerate Nerd, Scrib, Spooky, or Pop. No idea who's getting eliminated. It's gonna be one of them. But overall, the show is pretty... as far as the takes go, of course, I don't rewatch the previous episode before watching this one. However, as far as from what I remember, that is the best one. That is the best take I've seen yet. The best episode, like that is just solid. Like, yeah, of course we can't do that in depth of a challenge, but it's one take. It's one take, and we did a full voting procedure, a full intro gag, a full challenge that actually made sense in a way, and then a crash out fully like that. That's all correct, fair enough. I tip my hat off, and Glovey did also win, which I predicted. So shout out to all my Glovey fans. All right, let's go next. Cool stuff. All right, and then the next thing that we're going to be taking a look at, it is the first episode of Trophy Takedown 2. I honestly thought that it was going to take longer to get here, but it turns out I guess it didn't have as much to keep up with in terms of other shows that aren't the massive one that I'm putting off. So, yeah, if you remember, a couple of days ago, by request, I took a look at TT, which was Trophy Takedown, the 5 episodes that were released a couple of months ago. And here we had a Trophy Takedown 2, which released its first episode. It is titled Pizza. Pizza, it has a pretty cool thumbnail. It is double the length of the average Trophy Takedown video. So, let's see if Trophy Takedown 2 can stack up to the first season. Or should I say, can take down the first season. Ha ha. Alright, let's go. Okay, so I just watched the first episode of Trophy Takedown 2, currently the only episode of Trophy Takedown 2, Pizza. So, we have here a new cast of characters featuring a comedy mask, which is a pretty interesting little character. They are like a they're like a duo of characters, and you know me, I like a character that is two characters in one character. If I'm not sure exactly what they're supposed to be. Is one side supposed to be happy and the other sad? Because I don't know, they didn't necessarily seem to give out that vibe immediately. But yeah, we have emoji who speaks. They don't speak in emojis. They act out emojis as their animation style. I do enjoy the usage of hand emojis instead of like having assets like an object show. That's kind of fun. We have Lucky Block. We have Pizza, who only speaks in pizza. We have Crayon Poisonita, which is the sister of Poison from the last season. So nice that we got continuity. Green, which is the kind of I don't care character. And Battery, who is the I don't care character, but more. So then we have ourselves an intro. The intro is actually very solid. I really enjoy this intro. To be honest, I really like the way that it moves. I like how like emoji, for example, you get to show it off, and then the way that the two drops down from the intro from like the sky and shakes. Like that's cool. So we have some teams here. And in general, we have the first team, which is titled Pizza, because they ask Pizza about it. So if you ask Pizza, the team is going to be called Pizza, indeed, which has Green, Poisonita, Pizza, and emoji. Don't really know what to think of this team. I mean, it's just kind of going to be a very tough to communicate here little team, because like Green, it doesn't seem like they're exactly going to do that much, because they're kind of I don't care style character. Poisonita is definitely going to try some. I mean, Poison was one of the goats of the previous season, so maybe Poisonita can stack up. But then Peace isn't really going to be capable of communicating very well, and Emoji is going to be kind of annoying. That team's got some complications. And then there's Team Everybody Loves You, which is Crayon, Lucky Block, Battery, and Comedy Mask. You know what? It's kind of a similar vibe. Battery probably won't care that much. But Lucky Block and Crayon are neutral. I think this team's better. This team is better predicted. Than the other one, though, I'm not gonna lie. Then our challenge ends up being to get a background, because the background's pretty bad, and I have to agree. What I find interesting is that our background, our host, they're not a white ball or a gray ball. They're not a white ball. They're just a circle. Like they're a circle that's completely hollow inside. So that means that like they're just hollow, and there's a face that's levitating, which means that any background that it has, it just catches the color of that background, which I'm not sure if that's how the host is supposed to look, because I think in the previous season they were a white circle, but now they're not a white ball anymore. They're just a circle with no color in. But yeah, eventually, while everybody else was arguing about if the background should be Pizza or it should be Poison Nita's asset, Battery, who maybe doesn't care, but is just kind of, bro, take it. Ends up giving them a background, and it's a pretty okay. I mean, it's fine. It's not the best, but it's a bit low. It's a bit of it's giving JPEG. I'm not gonna lie. It's giving JPEG. It's a bit low quality background. I'm not gonna lie. I'd maybe look for a higher quality version of it. But sure, Battery. I'll give you the point. I mean, it's a bit low quality, but I'll take you the point. And then we have ourselves a elimination screen with a couple of fellas. I also like this. I like how Green is present in it as well, and the emoji being like, "Please save me." So I'm a fan of this screen as well. And yeah, this is the show. I enjoy it. That additional minute it just helps. It just helps. That additional minute it helps get stuff done. It helps get stuff settled. And I hope to see more episodes like this. I mean, we're going to need to see a more like challenge focused episode for me to be truly able to gauge it, to be able to give it a proper, like, yes, this is good writing, right? Because this episode is long, but it also is long because it has a lot to deal with. Episode ones, they just have a lot to deal with. They have introduce hosts, introduce contestants, introduce the show itself, then make teams, name teams, then like start challenge, do challenge, people win challenge, and then the voting screen, and like there's a lot going on in episode 1. I mean, on episode 2 is just kind of like opening scene, challenge, ending, right? So with those, the 2 minutes can definitely give more freedom of expression. This is kind of 2 minutes out of necessity more than anything. So yeah, show's cool so far. Enjoy, and I do appreciate that we took on my advice of titling the series Trophy Takedown, because you just ain't finding it in search. At least with Trophy Takedown, you can find it in search. So it's quite nice. And and then here is just episode 1. If you think about it, the show's gonna start getting more episodes, gonna start getting more views, gonna start getting more stuff going, and then with that, we're gonna eventually start rising up in search. And then eventually, when people search Trophy Takedown, that's gonna be the only show that there is, because there's no other Trophy Takedown, because this is actually a unique title as far as I'm aware. We're gonna be capable of beating out Battlefield 3 videos. So yeah, all right. Let's go to the next segment, which I don't know if it's an outro or if it's a different show that we're taking a look at. It'll depend. Let's go to the next thing, next chapter. Okay, so it ended up that I did actually need to have stuff done, which means that I couldn't actually get to a request today, which is rather unfortunate. However, look, we did some progress, we did some stuff. I mean, I was thinking about watching something, but I'm just today I'm tired. I don't know. Today I'm tired. I guess yesterday I didn't sleep too much. I was like up to like 3 a.m. uploading the Object Catchup, and then. Yeah, that means that if I watch a show, I'm not going to be capable of putting in my proper attention to it. However, if you requested something, it is on the... Don't worry, okay? I will be getting to it at some point, okay? It won't be right now because, there's stuff I get to. But either way, we will be back next time. Not sure if it'll be tomorrow. I'm not 100% confident I can get an episode tomorrow because tomorrow I do have plans. But either way, we are just gonna be chillaxing here for today. We did what we could. Hour and a half of stuff. That's all very solid. If you think about the amount of shows that we took a look at, we took a look at Object Shmobject, we took a look at Void, we took a look at a bunch of new episodes, right? I think it's not even like 4. Like I took a look at quite a lot of stuff. So why not? Yeah, all right. That is all for today. Thank y'all. Do you do the whole algorithm engagement thing? And for the shows that we are talked about, except for, of course, the road to MCS, we're all caught up. Goodbye.